has been leading a delegation from his department in consulting with communities on the mining charter. The minister is meeting with communities from Gauteng in Carletonville, and this forms a part of a countrywide community consultations to receive inputs on the draft mining charter. For more on this, we cross our reporter Mbongeni Muthwa. He's live for us in Carletonville. Mbongeni, good afternoon to you. The minister has certainly been driving quite an extensive consultation on the mining charter since his appointment, and he's hoping that the charter will be published by June. Tell us a bit more.
Absolutely. It's now well after 2 o'clock. The minister has been here since 9, listening to members of the mining community around here, their views and grievances and so on. He's just finished now. He's just come out, and he seems to be in high spirits. So let's hear from the horse's mouth. Minister, thank you very much for joining us. You just come out of this consultation here. You look in high spirits. Why?
Though I'm not a horse, let me explain this. You know, these consultation sessions are educational for me. The biggest value I get is that communities do educate us on things that sometimes we take for granted. For example, the behavior and the way companies relate to them. They are very, very specific about that. We'll tell the companies what people said. What is nice is that companies send people as well. If a social labor plan is not implemented, I think that is treasonable. Because the company commits itself that in my social labor plan, this is what I'm going to do in a community. If you don't do it, it's treasonable. Because you are perpetuating underdevelopment. And people are raising that in the sharpest terms you can think of.
Of course, not everyone is happy, as we've just alluded to. One of the people who are unhappy about this process is an organization called Makua, Mining Affected Communities United in Action. You should be aware of their grievances. They've called this process a sham, and they've lambasted you for refusing to meet and negotiate with them and take their demands and aspirations on board.
Makua has not done that. Christopher Rutledge has done that. That is not Makua. Makua has been in all the 9 sessions that I've been. I've been to 9 areas. And Makua has been there, participated constructively, and make their points on a number of issues. They gave us what they call is People's Charter. We're taking it as part of what we're looking at in terms of crafting the final version. So I don't want, when people have issues, to actually hide behind organizations. They must be sure that they have issues. And I've accepted that Christopher Rutledge is having issues. He writes an article every week about me. I have no problem with that. He can continue doing that. But Makua participate in all the sessions that we're having. We're left with 2 now. I'm sure I can tell with my eyes closed. They will be in Welcome on Friday. They will be in KZN in Newcastle on the 31st.
Just last, Minister, of course, mining charter is the whole concept of a mining charter or mining transformation through a process of mining charter is not new. We've had it for the last decade under various administrations, ministers. It's always been controversial. This particular mining charter that you are consulting the public on now, how different is it from the ones that we've seen before? What is it going to do differently?
It's a continuation of a process of transformation. So you cannot invent a new wheel when you're transforming. You increase 26% to 30%. There's nothing new with that. You're just increasing the black component on white companies. But what normally is never explained is that blacks are not relegated to 30%. If a group of black business people can own a mine wholly, they can have 100% to it. But when you have multinational and white companies, we say to them, you can't just prosper on your own. You must ensure that black capitalists prosper as well.
Just in wrapping up quickly, the path to implementation, you are now moving towards the tail end of this process of consultation. What happens afterwards, and when do we see implications?
After that, we draft, we go back to a summit that we have promised all the areas we've been, that there will be a summit at the end where we table the final draft. Then we'll take it to the normal government process, ultimately gazetted.
Minister, I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. You heard the Minister. Friday, they move on to Volcom and then to KZN in Newcastle on the 31st of May. It's back to you.
Mbongeni, thanks very much. And Mbongeni Muthwa live for us from Carletonville.